I will need to speak to Connor about his editing skills. I know a lot of people weren't happy with the introduction, but that is horrendous editing. That's the first time I've seen that, so I'll need to be sorting that out. Hello, everybody, and welcome along to the Rangers Rabble podcast. This is your Monday Night Rabble. We are back for season 24-25, and as we were just discussing before we came on, sometimes pre-season you can be messing about looking for a bit of content, a bit of information to talk about. But not if you're a Rangers fan, I suppose. Rangers always make it extremely easy for you to have subjects to talk about, as they have done this time round. And for the first show, I suppose, of season 24-25, I am joined by Ian, Stuart, and the returning Alan. I'll go to you first, Alan. My friend, it has been a while. How are you?
Yeah, been a long time. I'm good, thank you. It's glad to be back on the Random Rabble a couple of weeks ago. Quite enjoyed that, despite the fact I was quite rough when I done it. So yeah, a lot more fresher tonight, and looking forward to it. And I'd love to say looking forward to a new season, but we've not kicked the ball yet, and we've already got that dread.
Yeah. I mean, it is the case. It is the case, Stuart. There's going to be dread until we do something. And before I bring you in, Stuart, any of you who watched the Random Rabble yesterday, there shall be no mention of Michael Bolton tonight on the Rangers Rabble, apart from the fact that I've just mentioned Michael Bolton, who I will say before I go and say hello to Stuart, is a phenomenal artist. And if you haven't heard of him or you haven't listened to him, go and listen to his stuff. Stuart, how are you?
Has Michael Bolton not got a song called Steel Bars?
He does. He's also got a song called How Am I Supposed to Live Without You? And when I hear that song, Stuart, I often think of you.
Well, that's right, but Steel Bars would be quite useful at Ibrox at the moment if you could organise some of that. So that was a nice wee segue. I like that. Yes, all good. Yeah, it's we should be in a kind of pre-season optimistic, looking forward to getting the football back. It just feels a bit flat at the moment, and I'm sure we'll get into some of the reasons why that is.
It feels flat, Ian. It seems to be the running theme for Rangers at the moment. But before we get into all that, how are you?
I'm all right, and it's just to show how professional this pod is that you can shoehorn Michael Bolton into things about Ibrox. That's the quality these people come to see. That's what it's all about. I am good. A little bit cooler here because we had a thunderstorm yesterday. Not my favourite thing in the world, but at least it cooled it down because it has been right hot down here.
Well, I'm literally, 4 days ago I got back from Spain, and as you can see, my face is burnt to a crisp. And I'm actually still peeling on it as well, which is actually doing my nothing. I don't normally get burnt. Anyway, we're not here to talk about my holiday in Spain. We're here to talk about Rangers. And the big topic of conversation right now, Alan, is the fact that we don't have a home for the first few weeks of the new season. It is now being discussed that it could be as late as October. There's discussions going on. Could it be Hampden? Could it be Murrayfield? What's your take on it all?
The way it's going, it could be anywhere. We could be rocking up at Hannah Park in Shots. The way things are going just now.
That was actually pretty handy.
No, it's a mess. I think we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, and I wasn't that worried about it because there's always delays to building works, and I thought the club were going to come out because we knew about this a couple of weeks before it was announced. You and I discussed it, Martin. We had an idea that there was things going on, so we thought the club will be in control. Any operations manager worth their salt will have contingency plans in place. Clearly, Rangers haven't. They've not came out and told us anything. That's what's annoying people. That's what's annoying me. I have no problem. I've not got a problem with the building work's being delayed because that happens. That's life. That's building. But the fact that they kind of come out and tell us where we're going to be playing our home games, how long it's going to take, it's just It's just an absolute shambles now. So we said it before we came on there, and just as we came on, we've not kicked the ball yet. I've not even played a pre-season game yet. I'm scunnered with it already. Just,
I mean, it's not a good look, Stuart. And there's a lot of fans, if you go by social media, and again, I repeat myself all the time, that there's not really much more apart from people that you speak to that you can go on apart from social media. But across it, fans are angry.
And that's the problem. As Alan touches on, the fact that the club aren't saying anything means that there's this kind of void, and people will fill it. So the reports today that it could be October. Is that true? It might not be, but who's to say it isn't? Because we've got absolutely nothing to go on. So people like Keith Jackson, I would always take things with a bit of a pinch of salt.
Wouldn't listen to a word that man says, Stuart.
But he's probably got some info, so some of it might be true. But the problem is, like I say, by the club releasing a statement weeks ago and then not saying anything, it's just creating this vacuum and this void, and people will fill it, and it'll be some of those people will be filling it with stuff that is utter nonsense because they've got a bit of an agenda against us, and this is all great fun for them. I've seen some arguments to say, well, it'll work against the board if they just came up to pretty much say, well, there is no update. But I disagree with that. I think there has to be something. We need the chairman to now come out and speak. And I think we know he seems reluctant to do that because he had a bit of a horror show of an interview a couple of seasons ago, and the best in class stuff that he kept referring to would probably get flung back at him. But I've said this before in a pod, he's the chairman of Rangers. You cannot be silent, and we don't have a chief executive at the moment. Bisgrove was his guy that he liked to kind of send out and do that. Nobody's there at the moment, so somebody has to step up, and it should be the chairman. He must let us know what is going on with this, even if it's to say we hope to make an announcement in a few days' time. That's the agenda. There's still things we're ironing out, but this is the plan. This is what we're hoping to do. He needed to speak anyway this summer, I think, just in general. I think it's absolutely imperative that he now comes out and gives an interview, and it's easy to do. Use Rangers TV, set it up. It's easy done. I just can't fathom why these guys who are very successful in their own careers seem to act differently when it comes to Rangers. I don't believe John Bennett would be dealing with a situation in one of his companies in the same way, not speaking to folk, not letting your customers, your bread and butter, know what's going on. That surely he wouldn't be doing that in any other line of business. So why do it with us? And there is a risk, I think, with the feeling that is around the club at the moment, that you start to lose people. That backing that has been unwavering over the last few seasons, there will be folk who'll start saying, "Oh no, I'm not going to do this anymore." So I think they're in a tricky situation. There's no good's going to come out of this. I said to the guys, I was at Ibrox on Saturday at the restaurant. It's not just that there's work going on in the stand. They've had to do work outside it. There's big holes outside the Copeland, obviously, for electrics and stuff like that. So it's a long way from getting done. There is still work ongoing, but it seems to be a fair distance away. So come out and speak to us, treat us like adults, and just have a normal conversation with us. What do you know, and what do you think is going to happen? And I think fans would react far better like that.
Is that the case, Ian? Fans would react far better. If I could throw a few different examples at you, if Bennett comes out and gives it the look, building works have been delayed, we're going to have to wait until X amount of time, and then it surpasses that X amount of time, the fans then jump down his throat and say, "Oh, well, you lied, you're doing this, you're doing that." And if he doesn't come out and say anything and the work gets done, then eventually in time fans will forget, and maybe that's the way that he's going. Because like Stuart says, John Bennett has come out and done one car crash interview. Probably doesn't want to come out and do another. And also to add to that as well, Ian, sorry to batter you with points here. Stuart said, they wouldn't act like that in any other circumstance, in any other business that they have. Football is a unique business. Rangers is a unique football club. We've went through a lot in the past. This board know that we've went through a lot in the past. So I don't think there's any worry for them at all, that no matter how bad they act, that they're going to lose custom, because I just don't think they will.
So go to your first point first. If they come out and talk and they say, look, this is the state of play, this is what's happened, this is what's going to happen, and it's going to take X amount of time to complete these works. Now, it's going to be delayed, whether it be September or October, but we need you to back us wherever we may end up playing, whether it be Murrayfield, Hampden.
Motherwell would also be very handy as well, Ian, for me.
Motherwell, Hamilton. We don't want the plastic. We don't want the plastic pitch at Hamilton. But if they come out and say that we need your help to get us through this time, then the fans will be there. They'll back them, and they'll do everything they can. This to stay in silent is not knowing. In this era, we cannot, as a club, stay silent. Back in the day, back when I was growing up, and you were following it, and there was no social media, there only was print media. You could kind of take a little back seat and not say anything because there was no way for the everyday common supporter to get their opinion out. But now we have that, so they have to come out. And he's made one car crash interview. So what? You made one interview and it went wrong. Come out, do it again, and make a better one. Yes, they'll throw back at you the best in class this, best in class that. And as Stu says, he must do this in his other line of work, so he knows how to handle these sorts of situations. So just come out, tell us the truth. And then you don't get people like Jackson in the paper spouting whatever he wants to spout, because
I don't know how that man's still a journalist. I honestly don't know how that man is still a journalist.
Because he goes to the lowest common denominator, and we all know who they are. And they lap it up. So that's why he's still in a job. But if we leave the door open with space, someone's going to fill that space, and that's exactly what he's doing. So just come out, whether it be good news or bad news, just tell us, and at least that way we know, because just like that people saying it's going to be difficult for the players not playing at Ibrox for the first bit, it's also going to be difficult for the supporters who are paying their money to be at Ibrox to support the team, and they're not there. So let us know how long it's going to be, and just get it on, and get the works done as quickly as humanly possible, and then we can put the whole thing behind us.
Martin, just on your point about football's a unique business. I totally agree with that, but fans are still customers at the end of the day. We're still handing over money and stuff like that, and as the club's bread and butter, we should be treated as the priority, and they would be doing that in any other line of business that they're involved in. The main.
Sure, I get that, but let me throw it straight back at you then, right? I 100% agree with you, and that's exactly what they should do. But see, if you ran a business, right, where you knew that you didn't have to go out and make unnecessary statements in your eyes, or go out and say something that could come back to bite you on the arse, because you know for a fact that custom will always be there, right? And you're at the top of you're in the top job. You're the multi-millionaire. You're making all the tough decisions. See, if you knew that you didn't have to come out and possibly make yourself look stupid, would you? Because you know that custom's always going to be there.
Well, but that's an assumption, though, isn't it? That's a risk. Because
I don't think it's as much of a risk with us as what it would be for your normal company.
Okay, but in terms of a customer service, Ian's touched on a point to say we've all paid for. I paid for a season ticket. I'm not going to Ibrox as it currently stands, and I don't know how long for. Now, what are the club going to do there? I bet you one of the options is a kind of like they did in COVID, as a goodwill gesture. Would I be prepared to forego the equivalent of the games, the cost of the games that I miss, and keep that money within the club? I'm sure they will offer a refund, but I'm sure they will again play on the good nature of fans at some point. Say, Stuart, would you be willing not to take that refund and allow, because this has happened, we've had to fork out for whether it's Hampden or Murrayfield or whatever it is. So if they're going to do that, then there has to be some goodwill on their part as well. And I think it's a fairly simple thing that fans are asking for, is to say, just talk to us. We understand the situation. We're not stupid. It's not great, but it feels as if you're making it worse at the moment by not just engaging with us, as I said before, just as adults.
And listen, I 100% agree. The only point that I was making is because of the situations that we've been in, no fan's going to put the club in a position where it's going to financially affect it. And I think the board know that, and I think the board have played on that for quite a few years. And I think the board will continue to play on that. That's simply the only point I was making. But I 100% agree with you. If I just take a comment from one of our members, great name, Mick Shagger. Lads, tell me this, and this, I think this goes to the point exactly what you were saying, Stuart, along the lines of come out and speak to us and let us know the situation. Why couldn't they put something in the contract that says they have to deliver on time? Otherwise, they have to pay for it. Time-sensitive contracts exist. And Alan, that may very well be the case. Rangers might very well have done that, and they probably have done that because, like Stuart says, the guys that run our football club aren't stupid. They know what they're doing in the business world. And again, like Stuart, like Ian, and like yourself have said, if they don't come out and talk to us, rumours will start flying.
Yeah, it's like I've said before, any operations manager worth their salt will have identified risk, and the risk in construction is there's going to be delays for whatever reason. So something like that probably does exist somewhere. The exact wording it, I don't know. But just as sort of you were talking about there about the customer loyalty, that's what we are to the club. We're customers, and they don't need us really, because if a few of us said, we're giving up our season tickets, this was ridiculous how we were getting treated. There's somebody else. There's 10,000 on the waiting list that'll replace us. The problem we have is football's unique. It's maybe not unique, but it's certainly different to a lot of other industries where consumer loyalty exists within football. In football clubs, if you've got a bad experience at a supermarket, you'll go somewhere else. That doesn't happen with football. If you've got a bad experience at football, chances are, you're going to keep going back to that same football club. So they know we're going to keep coming back in one form or another, whether it be somebody else replaces us and we're season tickets, or whether we go away and huff for a wee while and then come back 4 or 5 years down the line. So they should be talking to us, but they don't need to. They don't need to, and they'll see that and they'll understand that. And it enrages us because we want them talking to us, but they don't. They won't see that as a priority. They are going to have to tell us something eventually, because it's less than a month until the season starts, and we need to know where we're going to be going on the 10th of August at least. I'm sure we'll get the European qualifier before that. Can't remember the exact dates. But 10th of August, first scheduled home games it stands at the minute. Rangers are going to have to tell us where we're going, and it's not just the case of us turning up and scanning our tickets to get in. Supporters clubs have to make organisations, have to hire buses. Again, we're forking out. We've not just paid for our tickets; we're forking out for our travel.
People coming to Ireland as well.
Yeah, people coming over the water. It's they need to tell us what's going on, but. That's only our opinion that they need to tell us. They're probably sitting thinking to themselves, we don't need to say anything yet, and that's what's frustrating us. I feel like we've had this conversation about Rangers time and time again over various different things, whether it be manager situations with players' contracts, anything else that's went on. In recent years, we've been saying the board need to come out and tell us, they need to be more open with us and discuss things with us. And it never ever happens. That's because they know they don't need to do it.
Well, that's the next point, Ian, is where are we going to be playing? Is it going to be Hampden? Is it going to be Murrayfield? That seems the two most likely options. I think that is really the only two options that we could have. Obviously, the relationship between Rangers and the SFA, Rangers supporters and the SFA, like a lot of other fans in the country, is pretty frayed. So you would imagine that negotiations for that would probably be very difficult. Murrayfield, it's in Edinburgh. It's not in Glasgow. So you would think, well, I mean, would we really go and play in Murrayfield? However, Murrayfield's got a bigger capacity. What do you make of it all?
For what I've heard, and I don't have any contacts at the club or anything like that. I'm not claiming to. But from what I've heard, listening to other podcasts, reputable podcasts, I may add, is that it seems to be more toward Hampden than Murrayfield, because and talks are well down the road, and there may be an announcement on that sometime in the next few days, maybe end of the week into early next week. But again, I'm not saying I'm in the know. Just this is other things I'm picking up from podcasts that I would tend to trust, as opposed to some of the other ones that are out there. And I think Robert made a point on Thursday in the members show as well, for those of you that weren't in that do we really want to go to Edinburgh to play football for a little bit, because they already claim that Glasgow's their city? So we're going to vacate Glasgow and let them fully have it, and then they pick up on it and they'd ride the wave of it. So are we really going to vacate the city and go off to Edinburgh to play football? And I get that Murrayfield's got the bigger capacity and all the rest of it, but that does hinder a fair few fans. Like you said, the people coming from Ireland, that's going to be one hell of it, because a lot of them have to leave literally bang on kickoff to full time to make that trip back over to Ireland if they're not staying. So going to Edinburgh is going to cause a massive issue as well. So out of the two, I would prefer Murrayfield because it's a better stadium, and I don't really rather deal with the RFU than the SPL or the SFA, sorry. And but from a logistical point of view, I can understand if they go to Hampden because it keeps us in Glasgow. And I think overall, due to the fact that our European name, not our actual name, is Glasgow Rangers, then I think it makes sense to stay there. But Hampden's an awful stadium, and if we could go anywhere else, I would bite the hand off.
I don't think it just comes down to logistics here. I think it comes down to as well how much it's going to cost us. Because whether it be Hampden or Murrayfield, Fir Park, Dundee, Hamilton, it's going to cost us money. It's going to cost us money. So I think the board, if they're sensible about it as well, because I guarantee the RFU, if I was in their position and they were saying, Rangers want to come and play at Murrayfield for however X amount of games, if I was RFU, I'd be putting all kinds of clauses into a contract. Merchandise. Any merchandise you sell on a match day, official merchandise, we want a percentage of that. Because that's how these businesses operate. It's how they should operate. It's how I would operate them if I was running them. So I don't think it just comes down to logistics. It's going to come down to how much this is going to cost us as well, because that will affect the product we're able to put in the park. That's where the money's going to be going.
I think on that, Alan, we could go to Martin's point about whether they, our relationship with the SFA. I think the SFA will be absolutely loving this. To be honest, one, if we need something from them, and two, we're going to give them money. And let's be honest, we've seen an absolute shambles of a Scotland team over the summer. No interest in having an insight and look at the manager. All they've cared about is the fact he got them to a tournament and earned them £6.5 million. That is all the Blazers care about. The idea that Rangers are then going to pay for them and probably pay for relaying a pitch after all the concerts and stuff like that's money that doesn't have to come out of their kitty. It's coming out of Rangers. I think they'll be fairly easy to deal with in all honesty.
Well, that was the other big point, Stuart, was the amount of money that not just the building work at Ibrox is going to cost, but using one of these pitches. And there was that talk about, obviously, was it the Pink concert? I think it's a Pink concert or something that's on at Hampden, and then we have to then relay the pitch. Not a lot of time to relay a pitch and get it right. You make a mess of that pitch and then you need to relay it again. So we're boxing ourselves into a corner here.
Yeah, 100%, and probably something that we should touch on is the impact that this has on the manager and his squad. This couldn't have happened at a worse time in terms of the scale of the rebuild that we need to do. And we've now got potentially 10, 11, 12 players coming in who it could be September, October time before they play at Ibrox. And some of these are huge games. So they don't have that experience of pre-season friendlies and whatever. And by the way, that this is not to say the work that's going on at Ibrox is the correct thing to do. It's long overdue, so it's right that that's taking place. So that it would have had some impact. But the fact that you do wonder what the manager is thinking of this and the impact that might have. It probably makes sense that maybe Hampden is more familiar, etc. That maybe he would prefer that. You would like to think he's been consulted in this as well, because it's couldn't have happened at a worse time in this. And yes, the financial outlay, where's that coming from? Are we covered from a contract position, and we'd recoup that, or does it impact on any kind of budgets in terms of playing staff, etc., that we might have? We don't know. Again, a chairman may be coming out and saying the cost of this will not have an impact on the manager's budget for this summer. Put that to bed then. You can quite easily say that. Just do it.
Yeah, it's. Is there any chance, Ian, that ourselves and the fans are just overreacting slightly, and that sometimes building work for whatever reason is delayed, and there's not really a lot we can do about it, and just get on with it? I'm just throwing that in there as a final thought, just to annoy some people.
We as fans do have a tendency to overreact. The Rangers fans are very good at overreacting to the smallest, tiniest little thing. But that all comes back down to that we don't know what's going on. Come out and tell us something, and then we can at least make an informed decision either way. It doesn't really matter. Someone said that we're not the first club that has had to deal with not being in their own stadium. So, England, you had Tottenham playing at Wembley. Even that across the city used Hampden for a season. The list goes on and on and on. It's bigger news because it is us, and everyone just likes to have their 2 cents worth and whatnot. So there is a potential for us to overreact about it, but like I said, it all comes down to not knowing what's going on. If we knew what was going on, we wouldn't even be probably talking about this tonight. The whole reason we are is because nobody has a clue what's going on, and it's all speculation, and that's why we tend to get the reaction we're getting.
Yeah, probably. That's 27 minutes of talking about Ibrox, which is lovely. I love talking about Ibrox. It's a lovely stadium, and I love going to it. But you probably want to be talking about something else rather than just the pitch. So let's talk then, Alan, about the players. Obviously, look, if I quickly read the list of departures, right? So John Lundstrom's away, Borna Barisic is away, Ryan Jack's away, Kemar Roof's away, John McLaughlin's away. Obviously, Fabio Silva goes back to Wolves, and the players that we've brought in so far, obviously, Mohamed Diamandi's come in now. That's him permanent for 5 million. We've just announced the signing of Hamza Igamani. I'll need to find out how to say that properly. For the reported 2 million, 1.52 million pounds. Hefty's come in for 800k, and then Connor Barron, Liam Kelly, and Clinton and Ciala have come in for free. Also, a forgotten man's coming back, Alan, who I want to talk about before I talk about the rest of the players. A forgotten man in that. I've just quickly forgot his name, but I've remembered. Jose Cifuentes is on his way back after his loan. Do you know, I don't know if it's just, Alan, because I've been playing a bit more Football Manager. I was away on holiday, I got a wee bit of chance to play some Football Manager. And he's quite highly rated on that, right? It's a guy that I think a lot of us have forgot about. Jose Cifuentes, does he feature for Rangers this season?
Was he only on loan?
Yes.
Oh my God. Can we go back to talking about the stadium? Yeah, I'd forgot about him, and I forgot that he was only on loan, to be honest with you. I don't think he'll be featured much in the plan.
I mean, it is possible. I think it might be December, actually.
When you said about somebody coming back, my first thought was Yanis Hadji.
We spoke about Hadji. I wanted to just get Cifuentes in there before.
Cifuentes, I never gave
as
him
much as I love looking at Ian's arm, you know.
I've not the chance to think about that, because I didn't even realise he was on loan. I thought he was gone. I think there's still a lot of work to do. Centre backs, especially, I'd love to see at least one.
I love how you just glossed straight over Cifuentes.
I've nothing to say about him, other than that. Good luck wherever he ends up, because I can't see him coming back and pulling on a Rangers jersey. No, there's still a lot of work to do. I think there's still going to be some players outgoing. There's still a lot of uncertainty around about Tav and Goldson. The English clubs haven't really started their business yet. I would imagine when they do, Butland's going to get linked with everybody as well. Sort of a fight to keep him as well. So that might, if he does go, I can't see it now actually, to be honest. I can't see him going this summer. But if he does go, Moldy to be on the hunt for another goalkeeper as well. So there's still a lot of work to do. I don't think we're finished in this transfer window by a long shot. It's good to see some business getting done early. But I think as some of the other leagues start to return back to business and they start doing, their clubs start doing their transfer business, it'll make more players available. And we'll see more coming in. Lammers just getting mentioned in the comments as well. I think he'll be away.
Sam Lammers is an interesting one, to be fair. The season that he had in Holland. I'll come back to that in a wee second. I thought Cifuentes was back. My apologies, I got that wrong. And I know that I threw Alan a wee bit there. But one person, Stuart, who I don't think it's any surprise, it was Robert, I think, put it in our WhatsApp group. I might be wrong. Saying that it looks as though a deal has all been done for Robbie McCrory. No idea who for, no idea where he's away to, but it's going to be announced in the next few days. That's no real surprise, really, Stuart. Is it 25, Robbie McCrory now? Obviously, Liam Kelly coming in to play understudy to Jack Butland. McCrory was always leaving.
100%, and rightly so. He has to go for the betterment of his own career. He's at an age now where he needs to be playing first team football. The fact, as soon as Rangers offered him that new contract and he turned it down, and then the news broke that he'd actually been trying to kind of orchestrate a move in January, and then add to that the fact that we were after Liam Kelly, I think that confirmed that Robbie McCrory would go. I think it's fairly evident, as Alan touched on, if Butland was to go, for example, even without signing Liam Kelly, if Robbie McCrory was still a Rangers player, Rangers would still be going out and buying a new goalkeeper. It's not a case Butland goes, McCrory would be the number one. So for his sake, I think it's the right thing. I hope we get a decent amount of money for him. I know he's only got a year left, but I think he is a decent keeper. So I hope we get a decent amount of money, and most importantly, we put a wee sell-on clause in that, or a buyback option, or some sort of whatever it may well be. I think we need to be careful that we protect ourselves on that, because you can imagine wherever he moves to, I don't see that would probably be the end of his career. There is a potential. He's young enough that he can still develop and move on to maybe bigger clubs, etc. So I wish him well. I think it's the right thing for Robbie McCrory. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. So I know there was talk of staying in up here, but I think he would be maybe best suited to maybe go and try down south, down the Championship or something like that. I think that would be a good move for him.
It's a strange one with Robbie, though. I mean, he's 25 now. He's played a few times for Rangers. He's never really let us down, if we're being honest, in the times he's played. But he's not played a lot of football for a 25-year-old. I know he had his loan out at Livingston and stuff, and that, by all accounts, that didn't really go too well. But he's not played a lot of football for a 25-year-old goalkeeper. So, like you say, it'll be interesting to see exactly where he goes. And Ian, channel member James Cameron is saying that Stevie at Four Lads is saying that Lammers has no future and is training with the B team. That would very much surprise me if that was true. Whether not the no future thing, whether he has a future or not, obviously none of us know. But if he's languishing with the B team, that would very much surprise me.
Yeah, that would seem a little bit odd. But again, Stevie is one of those who does tend to 9 times out of 10 get it right. But it would surprise me if he was training with the B team, particularly as he was in Holland, and we are now in Holland. You would think that they would just meet up if he's going to be sold in the summer, which it probably looks like he's going to be. And I think there could be, with teams in the Eredivisie, there could be a bit of a bidding war, because there's enough teams in there that are interested. So we could get.
There's no way back for him for you, Ian. Is there not? Because I mean, look at the season that he had out on loan. Maybe it's just that's where he's comfortable, and that's the league that suits him. And we've seen that with countless players over the years, that some leagues just don't suit them. But he's been out there and kind of rejuvenated his career a wee bit.
But some players are suited to certain leagues, like you say. And I think Lammers before then, his best time had been when he was playing in Holland. Didn't work for him in Germany, didn't work for him in Italy, hasn't worked for him in Scotland, but it's worked for him again in Holland. So I think Holland suits him and the way he plays and the teams over there. So I think that he's a nice enough chap by the looks of him. He looks like a fairly decent fellow, as my little boy has been saying recently. But I just don't think that the Scottish game suits him. The rough and tumble of Scottish football does not suit all players. I think that's why Morelos loved it so much, because it was so much like people trying to rough you up and all the rest of it, and that suited the way he played. It doesn't suit Lammers, and he's had a good time since he's gone back. But I don't see him being a part of anything Rangers going forward, because I don't think he suits the way Clement wants to play his football. So I think that if we can get a decent return on him, at least get our money back on him, I think that's the way forward for him. And there's someone else saying that Rangers review.
I mean, listen, Stevie's usually get his ear to the ground with stuff like that, and like you say, another Rangers outlet has said that he's training with the B team.
Martin, I would say that the fact that Danilo gets injured and Lammers still goes, out on loan, tells you exactly what the manager's thinking about Sam Lammers. And that's no disrespect, but he's not part of the manager's plans. Not seen him in any of the footage, whether it's getting on planes at the airport or even they've started to release some of the training footage from over in Holland. You don't see him, so I would assume that is the case. One thing I would say, that's a loan that Rangers have done very well, because to think that we might probably recoup the money that we paid for Sam Lammers, I think if you'd said that to folk at the start of January, I think you'd have been laughed at, because I think the feeling would have been we're going to take a financial hit. Getting him out on loan in a league that works for him, and he has succeeded and he played very, very well, it now looks as if actually, we'll at least get our money back. So unbelievably, I might give Rangers a bit of credit on this pod by saying, actually they did that well, and we should be doing more of that rather than people just languishing and picking up a wage and sitting in the stands and stuff like that. If there's a way to get them out there and get them in the shop window to the right league and the right club, we absolutely need to do that.
Which is why it surprises me, Stuart, that they just bring him back and shove him in the B team. If he's done that you keep him in and around the first team, keep him training while you're trying to sell him. I don't think it sends out the right message that you're bringing a player back who's had a decent season and then you just throw him in the B team.
Well, we don't know if there's already ongoing discussions, and deals could be kind of a bit down the road, so that there could be a multitude of reasons for doing that. He's obviously he would have to come back. He's still a Rangers player. So he would have to come back when pre-season starts. But whatever the discussions must have taken place to say, look, you're no longer part of the first team plan, so I'm not going to involve you in the training sessions of the Rangers first team, because you're not going to be playing first team football for Rangers next season.
I mean that's maybe fair enough. Maybe I'm just reading a wee bit too much. And trying to remember Jim Sloan. Follow lads. Thank you very much, Jim. Appreciate all the support that you always put into the podcast. Jim is one of our channel legends by a country mile, so thank you very much. Jim, before we come to a few players, Alan, that we have brought in, do you want to just do a wee bit of rumour talking? Maybe make up some rumours and just throw them out there and hopefully they come true.
About Rangers or about me?
About Stuart. Just throw them out there.
There are no rumours about Stuart, they're all true.
He stole the curtains. But yeah.
I can't see Stuart getting a game for Rangers either this season.
I don't know, by the way. You ever seen Stuart run? It's a joy to behold.
Have you seen me run?
Once. But in all seriousness, there was a wee bit of a kerfuffle, Alan, which there always seems to be around Todd Cantwell. Some stuff on social media which some people don't mind, some people hate, whatever tickles your fancy, I suppose, with stuff like that. But then there was rumours going about that his agent was emailing or sending messages to some clubs who were maybe hopefully going to look at his services, and apparently he sent it to a wrong account. I don't know how true that is. Like I say, I'm not long back from holiday, so I don't know the ins and outs of it all. But with Todd Cantwell be leaving, would that be a strange one for you, or would that be sensible considering the talk there seemed to be between you know, does the manager in Cantwell get on? He's pushed him at the end of the final and stuff like that. And if it is true, and we are looking at a new club for Todd, what's a reasonable fee for you?
It's a strange one. Todd Cantwell's came in. He's done a decent job for Rangers. I don't think he's been, great, amazing, fantastic. I don't think he's the type of player we would say no, we absolutely can't sell him. So if other clubs were looking at him when reasonable offers came in, not sure how long's left in his contract. But be looking for a few £1 million probably at least, especially if it was a Serie A team. You don't want to undervalue your players because we've done that for years. But at the same time, it's a competitive market, so you don't want to overvalue them and chase clubs away. And again, you don't know who the manager's looking at. We know who he's already brought in, but we don't know who else he's looking at in terms of players coming in. He might not fancy Todd Cantwell, and there might be other players out there that he wants to bring in that he thinks can do a better job for him. So if he goes, good luck to him. If he stays, great, because he's a decent player. But if he goes, he's not been an unsellable or undroppable asset to the club in the past season either. So I don't think I'm going to be too fussed either way, to be honest with you.
I mean, I'm not 100% sure.
I would go, sorry, Mark, I would go on record and say the only player I'll be really, really disappointed if we lose this season is Jack Butland. I don't think anybody else is bulletproof. I don't think there's anybody I don't think there's anybody in the squad for last season that I would say I really, really, really want them to stay other than Jack Butland. I think that's how big a rebuild we need.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to send us down that rabbit hole, Alan, thanks very much. Yeah, we'll go down that rabbit hole. I mean, Paul's saying Cantwell's got 2 years left in. I don't know the official contract expiry date of Todd Cantwell, but is he one of the few players? And we'll come on to Bolton and Tav in a wee second, and the rumours that seem to get a bit silly, but we'll come on to them. But is he one of the most marketable players we've got?
He is definitely one of the assets that we've got that you could get money for, and quite a high level of money for, because there will be clubs in England.
Sell-on clause for Norwich as well.
I don't remember reading anything about a sell-on clause, but that doesn't mean there's not one there. So, I mean, most clubs these days do, but I don't. I mean, if we've done it on profit, then we could be in for a bit of a tanking next when we paid 1.5 million for the lads. So, but I mean, Cantwell, the reason that he got bowled out of Norwich so quickly is because he did exactly the same things as he's doing now, and it irked on the supporters and it irked on the manager. And then when the new manager came in at Norwich, he didn't knuckle down and do what he did, and he got pumped out on loan. So this just seems to be the wheel of Todd Cantwell just goes round and round and round. I mean, if he stays, I don't mind that because he is a quality player. He shows it that he's a quality player. If he can just do it on a regular basis and show the quality that he's got, rather than getting into the antics of getting in people's faces and trying to do stupid tricks to make them look stupid, then we've got a hell of a player. But equally, if someone comes in with an offer that is too good to turn down, whether it be a Lecce, for example, and that's the club that he was offered to by his agent, then he goes. I mean, like Alan says, nobody in this club apart from Butland is bulletproof, and even Butland, if they come in with a decent enough offer, even though I'd cry my little heart out until I fall asleep, Butland doesn't go anywhere.
A few folk in the comments, Ian saying, do John Sterling?
Yeah, Sterling definitely a seller. I mean, he had a hell of a season last year.
It's somebody that you don't want to lose.
Oh, another one we don't want to lose. No. Well, yeah, maybe Butland and I still think that because we got him for free, if someone comes in again with a ridiculous offer for Sterling, then he's gone as well. The only one like Alan we wouldn't want to get rid of because it's really difficult to replace is Butland, because to get a quality goalkeeper like him, you're going to have to buy in a goalkeeper that costs about the same. So, but Cantwell, if he goes, I'm not bothered. If he stays, I'm happy. It's a weird one. It's chalk and cheese. I'm quite happy if he goes, but I'm happy if he stays as well. I don't know where I sit with Cantwell. He annoys the hell out of me, but I still love him when he plays and does well.
I mean, Stuart, if you want to jump in on the Cantwell thing, you're more than welcome before I come to my next point.
Yeah, he's just not done enough, has he? He's shown it in flashes. I thought the Hearts semi-final, I thought he was the best player in the park by an absolute country mile, and you were just then hoping that he was going to take that form into the rest, the tail end of the season and really drive us on. And again, it didn't really happen. There's a frustration there because there is a talented footballer. Now, you could argue if he had better performing players around about him, do we see a better Todd Cantwell? Maybe. I think there is doubts about whether or not he fits exactly, or does the manager quite like what he sees from him? I'm not sure. So again, I'd be looking for a wee bit more for Todd Cantwell. I think if he's got 2 years left in his deal, 2.5 years, whatever it may well be, I think he would be looking. I think if we sell Todd Cantwell for 1.5 million, again, I just feel as if it almost sets a bit of a precedent in terms of for clubs to say, well, if you've got rid of him, a talented footballer like that, for that price, then who else can we try and pick up in the cheap? I'd like to see us potentially play a bit of hardball on that. If he stays, it would be a massive season for Todd Cantwell. He would need to really cement himself in the team and show a level of consistency in his performance that we haven't seen, and increase his numbers. A player of Todd Cantwell's ability should be getting easily into double figures in the SPFL, and he hasn't done that. So if he does stay, we need to see a kind of a big improvement from him. But could a team go? Yes.
Yeah. Listen, I 100% agree with you. And Stuart, I'll just stick with you then. On the new signings now, I've read them out. Obviously, Diamande, Igamani, Hefty, Barron, Kelly, Insiala, right? 20, 21, 20, 21, 22. Bar Liam Kelly, who's 28, who's coming in to be a backup goalkeeper. In terms of transfers, Stuart, all very young players. We can obviously see what the manager's plan is. And we've obviously got rid of a few on the older side. Lundstrom was quite old, Ryan Jack was quite old, etc., etc. So we're going to have a young squad next season. Is that a worry for you if we don't start bringing in maybe, I don't know, a couple of 24, 25-year-olds as a bit of experience, or do we already have that in Goldson, etc.?
I'm not overly concerned. I'd be slightly concerned if we were going into the season with a squad of youngsters. As you say, I think it's fairly evident that both Coppin and the manager have decided that the average age of the squad needs to come right down. There needs to be a wee bit more athleticism, etc., within the squad. So I don't have any disagreement with that. I fully anticipate that we will start to see some more experienced players coming through the door. The Kenny McLean rumour, etc., won't go away. So let's see where we go. I think if we were going into the first league game of the season with the squad in terms of how it is and the age level it is, then yeah, I think I would be slightly concerned. But I think it's just the nature with the Euros being on, probably the more experienced players being the kind of the trickier deals to get done, or as Alan touched on, you might need to start seeing some of the bigger clubs start doing their business, and then it'll all start filtering through. Then I think we'll start to see that. And I think the manager in his interview that he did 2 weekends before made it pretty clear that experience is the next stage. So I fully expect that we'll see that kind of being brought in over the rest of the summer. It's a kind of weird. I mean, the number of players that you've read and just said, Cortez is back as well. Fans just want to
mention Cortez because I'm getting battered in the comments for forgetting to mention him.
And I'm delighted is back, by the way. But it seems a weird one because if you'd said, come the 8th of July, you would have that many players in the door, you would think, well, that's pretty good. But people are just, I don't know if again, maybe just that kind of apathy that's around about the club at the moment, where people seem a wee bit underwhelmed by it because they are quite young. Some of them have already seen. But I think we will, the next few weeks, I think it will ramp up, hopefully, and the manager will get some more experience in the door.
Obviously, I want to talk about the new signing as well, but before I do that, Ian, I have to mention a player that Stuart's just mentioned there. Years ago, was it 2 years ago, we were talking about Lewis Ferguson at Aberdeen. And I said, no interested. Don't think he's good enough. Don't want him anywhere near Rangers, blah, blah, blah. He's now went off and done what he's done, which would appear that he's probably more than good enough to play for Rangers, right? So I got that 100% wrong. Totally wrong. Put my hands up to that. Kenny McLean, Ian, for me, I don't watch massive amounts of English football. I certainly don't watch massive amounts of Championship football, right? So this is coming from seeing him playing for Scotland and the odd time that I have seen him play. I don't want him in a Rangers shirt. I don't care if he's a Rangers man. I don't care if he's a big Rangers supporter. For me, that is another transfer where you're going slightly backwards. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. But for me, that's a transfer where you're going backwards. Because you're going to have to pay him a lot of money.
So there's the issue. See, he plays for Norwich in the Championship. He has 2 years left on his contract with an option of an extra year. So that's 3 years you're going to have to try and pay out of Norwich. He's a top end Championship player as well, because they're a top 6 club. They're there or thereabouts for promotion. I'm not going with the fact that he's a Rangers man, and that, I mean, the phrase that he has to be a Rangers man does my nothing. I don't care if he's a Rangers man and a Celtic man and a Man United man, as long as he can do the job in the middle of the pitch. I don't care where his allegiances lie.
Well, their last 2 captains are Rangers men, so it goes
there
to
you go.
It doesn't matter.
And I mean, and McGregor does like an own go for us.
Oh,
So he's lived his boyhood dream. But McLean is Norwich's player of the season. He's nicknamed the mayor of Norwich. They love him here. I've only seen a few Norwich games. I've not been to many. I've only been to one live game. I took my son to see his first ever live game of football. It just happened to be Norwich. He ran the show. I'm not gonna lie, he ran the show. He's the wrong side of 30 to be offering a massive deal. You're looking at 1, maybe 2 years tops. He would walk to Ibrox to play, in fairness to him. I wouldn't be against the idea of him coming in for that 1 or 2 seasons just to plug a hole for the time being. But overall, I think we need to look at better. But I would have no qualms if he came up and was in that midfield just for the experience out of it, not for worrying about the fact that he's a supporter of the club, that he was at the club as a boy, or any of that. It's just for that experience to mould around the youth as well. But I can already tell Stuart's really seething to get at me.
Do you know, I'm actually a wee bit scared to bring Stuart back in because he looks absolutely raging. So sorry, Aaron, but Stuart, do you want to jump back in, mate? On you go.
No, we had a bit of a discussion this a couple of Thursdays ago in one of the shows, and I took a bit of criticism in the comments because I would take Kenny McLean in a heartbeat. I think he would do a great job for Rangers at the right price. You know, I think people that Thursday, people kind of overlooked the fact that I kept repeating that at the right price. I totally get he's 32, etc. I think he's a Rangers man and all that. I think that gets thrown out, and I think that's a wee bit harsh on Ken McLean. I think park that. I think Ken McLean's a very decent footballer who, everything he done last season for Norwich, he was right at the top, and not just for Norwich, in the whole of the Championship, he was right at the top in terms of the stats that he was consistently proving. That's a lead.
That's the sense where we can't afford him.
Potentially, Martin, and that might be the case. But player power is a thing. You know, he could be driving some of this. I think there's no smoke without fire here. This rumour won't go away. It could have been very easily shut down. So there's clearly something in it. The Championship's a far harder league, far better league in terms of the standard than the SPFL. I think, yeah, at 32, he would do a very decent job, and we've just touched on about experience. You know, would you have any issue with putting Kenny McLean into playing in the first Old Firm game of the season at Parkhead? I wouldn't, because he's got that experience. He'll know what it's all about, etc. So, you know, we can't have it all on one hand. Where I think we've said, you know, we need to get bring the age down. We need a freshness to it, etc. But I think there has to be an acceptance that you do need to have some experienced heads in and around that, people that kind of know what it's all about. I repeat,
What position, Stuart, did he play for Norwich?
Well, he played a number. He actually ended up filling in at centre half a wee bit at Norwich and did very well. But predominantly he was that kind of holder in the middle of the park, and his ability to win the ball back. He did that.
He's not a number 10 then, so he's not competing with Cantwell, and he's not competing with Lawrence.
No. I think Kenny McLean would be coming in, and he would play in the kind of the deeper role, I would imagine, for Rangers. And he's got the ability to win the ball back. I think he averaged it 6 times per game in the Championship. Now, that puts him well on par, if well not above, anything that we had in our midfield last season. And I think our ability to win the ball back and get the ball moving quickly was one of the main downfalls of the Rangers team last season. So, I repeat, has to be at the right price, etc. But I think it would be a smart signing, and just in my opinion.
Would he be a regular starter for you, Stuart?
I think at the start he would be, yeah, because I think there's still doubts about what the manager thinks of Raskin. Now, I think Raskin's form, I think we've seen in the cup final, etc. I think he did start to come on again, but clearly the manager has had doubts about Raskin because it took a long time for him to force his way back in, and eventually it was kind of, Lundstrom being a bit of an arse and getting sent off that kind of opened that door. So I think there's still doubts about who fills that. Diomande, I think, is a certainty in there. Barron, I think will probably get his opportunity. And if the manager's going to, again, play with that deep-lying midfielder, I think there's still doubts about whether or not Raskin's his choice in there. So I think McLean, if he did arrive, would absolutely be in with a shout of making that jersey his own.
That was
but
the reason.
we need a squad, Martin. We need a squad.
Yes, of course we do. That was the reason Alan asked the question, because you have Raskin, you have Diomande, you have now Connor Barron. A lot of us have been talking about Dujon Sterling, Alan, and that being Dujon Sterling's best position, being that defensive midfield, that deep line playmaker, if you like. So you're going to spend that kind of money, whichever it would be. I don't know. Would you agree? Would Norwich be looking for 1.5 to 2.5 million? Would it even be as low as that? Would Norwich accept that? Regardless of player power, you're then looking at Kenny McLean's wages. Is there not better options out there because it's not as if we have nobody who can play in that position right now?
There has to be. I mean, we've just signed the boy for Aberdeen. I know we're talking about younger players. We've just signed the boy for Aberdeen. Raskin's still there. Connor
Diomande.
Cole McKinnon's still in the squad as well, who can play that role. I still think he deserves his opportunity. Yeah, Rice. See, for me, with McLean, he's a decent player in a bang average league. I know it's competitive down in the Championship. They're all capable of beating each other. And yeah, the standard's better than it is in Scotland, but it's a bang average league. He's a bang average player, to be perfectly honest with you. See, if you look at his career, he's never had an exciting career. He's 32 now. There's a reason that he's never had an exciting career. I don't think he would be anything other than a squad player for Rangers at this point in his career. It's not a transfer that would excite me and get me off my seat and get me rushing to go to Hampden Park to watch Rangers play in the league game. There's got to be better out there. If you're going to be spending money on players and for those positions, and yeah, we do need more experience, there's got to be better than Kenny McLean. If Kenny McLean's the best we've got, or the best we've got available for the money that we can spend, then there's some serious questions to be asked about the recruitment strategy at Ibrox. Well, there already is, but that would make it even worse.
He's Scottish, and that's a fact. We cannot overlook the fact that we can't just go and keep signing players from abroad. That doesn't work. So that must be part of the thinking. I appreciate he's not everybody's cup of tea. I think he would just do a decent job for us.
It's just the finances that
I understand that. I understand the need to look at Scottish players, but I would rather, if we're looking at that and saying, right, we need to go and bring in players that are Scottish, I would rather spend the money on Shankland than I would McLean. And I'm not Shankland's biggest fan. I think he's good, but I'm not his biggest fan. But if you give me the option, we've got the money to spend, we're going to go and sign somebody that's Scottish. I'd rather go and get the Shankland. I think he'd be more important to us in the squad than Kenny McLean would be. I'm not convinced by that being linked to that type of player. At the age that he's at the career he's had, I think he's average at best, to be honest with you.
Can I just use that as a segue now? Because that's the perfect segue for me, Alan. I don't usually get that, and I think that's twice a night I've had it. We're not signing Shankland now, Ian, because we have signed a new striker, whose name I still cannot pronounce. Hamza Igame. I believe that's how it's pronounced, but people can tell me if I'm absolutely wrong. I'm not going to sit here, Ian, and pretend that I'm one of these people who knows everything about the boy. I know he's Moroccan. I know he's a striker. I know he scored 2 goals and 6 for Morocco's under-23s. So we're bringing in somebody who hopefully can score goals and just add to that striking department, which we so desperately needed.
I've been told you drop the E and it's Hamza Igman.
Igman, right, good.
Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I was told you drop the E and it's just Hamza Igman, but we'll see. I don't know. I've seen the YouTube reels, and even Dessers look good on YouTube. Cedric Itten looked good on YouTube.
Cedric Itten was good, by the way.
He was a good player, just not for us because we didn't play him. We should have. But anyway, we'll brush over those. Those are the guys of the past. The upside, the one upside we do have with Igman or Igmane, we'll just call him. No, we're not just going to call him Hamza because that'll just trigger people. But he's not been brought into the Moroccan squad for the Olympics, which is good news for us. I don't know if that was a thing we discussed with him or whether it was just something that Morocco have decided not to take the bigger names with them. So that's useful for us because at least he can come in, get integrated with the club and have a full pre-season with us as opposed to going away to France for next week, I think it starts, for a month. So that's good news as well. I've heard a lot of good things about him. There's a lot of people who obviously are in the know about it and say that we've got a hell of a player on our hands. It will be rough. One stat I did hear, when you look at Dessers takes 10 touches in the box to get a shot off, whereas Igmane, whatever we're going to call him, reduces that by half. He takes 5 touches to get a shot off. So at least we won't see that many in the way of cutbacks trying to get it back to his other foot or whatever it is that Dessers tries to do. And just so Scott Kearney, I'm not slagging Dessers off. I do like the guy, and he's a decent player. He's just not what we need to take us forward. I don't think personally. I don't see that Igman is going to be a out-and-out starter for us as well. I do think we probably do need that extra striker in. But by all accounts, we've got a decent player on our hands that if we get this right with him, could make us an absolute fortune going forward.
It's competition, Alan, for Danilo and Dessers. And it's hopefully a striker that can come in and stay fit. Look, I'm just looking back through his stats, right? And I don't know, because obviously the competitions that he's played in, but I don't know if these are under 21s tournaments. I don't know what they are, but all in all, he scored 16 goals in 58 games, which is a no bad record. And again, it's just competition for Danilo. Hopefully Danilo's back fit, and Dessers, who can't carry Rangers on his back on his own. He just can't do it.
No, and Dessers' numbers last season's goals to games, it wasn't horrendous. It was just the way he looked and the amount of touches he took, and the fact that he needed 4 or 5 opportunities before he got 1 goal. But you get that at Rangers, you don't get that at other clubs. So, but you're right, he can't carry a squad. Ian made the comment there about being a young player, and hopefully it works out for him, it works out for us, and it's something we can make a decent profit of. And the same could be said for a lot of the players that we've brought in so far in this transfer window. I don't want to use the term player trading model, because that's another phrase we feel like we've spoke about for the past 2 or 3 years, and every manager said it when they came in. But that is what we should be doing. That's where we are as a club, and I've said that 100 times, and I'll keep saying that. That's exactly what we should be doing. So yeah, I've never seen him. I've watched the clips on YouTube, but I always remember seen a video package about Seb Rosenthal, thinking he was going to be the next big thing for us many years ago. So we'll see what he's like. Not just
back, Alan, when it was actually a video package.
It was actually a video package, aye. So I will see what he's like when the competitive football starts and where he's going to be playing, what kind of player he's actually going to be, because it doesn't look like he's going to be a number 9 goal scorer. So we'll see how he's going to settle in. But the same is going to be said for all the players that we're bringing in just now. We're going to have to see how the manager wants them to play and whether or not it's going to work for them. And hopefully, obviously, we're sitting here hoping it works for every single one of them.
Just on Dessers, Martin, to say that if the rumours are true, there is many clubs circling Dessers, and Rangers are more than quietly confident that they're going to get their money back for Dessers. I don't believe, not that the manager doesn't like Dessers, but I don't think he has, he's not mobile enough. I think the manager wants, I think he wants his forwards to be able to have more mobility, and I don't think Dessers has that. That also makes me think that's maybe why we probably won't get a Shankland, because I'm not convinced that he fits that. But if the rumours are true, then Holland, Spain, Saudi, France are all clubs all there. And the more clubs that are interested in Dessers, then the better, because then you actually might get a wee bit of a bidding war started on him. But that's the latest rumours that even
we're getting that money back, Stuart, because of his goals.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, people will look at it and say, "Well, do you know what? He did have a very decent goal return for Rangers." And I thought the criticism of him was at times a bit much, and I think he does deserve some credit and respect, because it's not easy to be pretty much jeered off the park. And that's what happened a couple of times. Ibrox, it wasn't pleasant to be there when he was getting substituted, and people were jeering. Thousands of people were jeering. So he's clearly got a bit about him, that he's got a confidence in his ability to be able to, to get goals. I agree with Ian. I'm not convinced he's the answer for us, and I'm not convinced that the manager sees him as the answer to us. So if we can get our money back, then I think that's a decent bit of business for him, and wish him well. And I think then obviously that money would be reinvested. I think the manager would go out, because I think we need to be a bit patient with Danilo. That's a big injury that he's coming back, and I think if we expect that he's going to be firing on all cylinders come August, I think that's probably a bit unrealistic. So wouldn't surprise me to see that we go into the market and get somebody else.
Right, gents. Well, I think we'll leave it there. I think that will do us for the first Monday back. There's still loads to talk about, which we shall get stuck into on Thursday night on the members show, which is available here only on YouTube on the members page. If you haven't joined and became a member yet and you want to, then if you're watching on computer, the join button is below the window, or the link is in the description. And again, if you're watching on YouTube, please do like, share, subscribe and stuff like that, and follow us on all socials, which all the links for are in the description. Every like, every subscribe helps share the podcast through the algorithm, which is YouTube, which is extremely unfair, because like I say, we've got just over 10,000 subscribers, which on YouTube it is, for us, is massive, but is classed as small, so we don't get shared as much as other stuff does. So please do give it a like and a share, and follow us on the Facebooks and the Twitters and the TikToks. And it's so difficult to keep up with all the social media stuff. It really is. My thanks to Ian, Stuart and Alan for joining me on this Monday night. For Jim Sloan as well for his super chat. Thank you very much, Jim, for helping to support the pod as you always do. For all the comments that help keep us going. Like I say, we'll be back on Thursday night. Then we're back on Sunday for the Random Rabble, which a few people were unhappy about. The Random Rabble's got nothing to do with Rangers. It's random, hence the name Random Rabble. And then, of course, we're back a week today for your forever going again Monday Night Rabble. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Here's Connor's extremely poor edited outro, which I will sort for next week, I promise. And yeah, we'll speak to you all very, very soon.